All right, introducing this session for those who are watching the recording. This is going to be a Q&A/discussion session with our poster session presenters, 3 of whom have decided to join us live, but you're welcome to go to the website and view all of the pre-recorded poster sessions. I think we have around 10 or 12, and we're grateful for folks who join us asynchronously, both on the viewing side, but also on the presenting side. So Veronique, Safiyya, Yunpu, maybe we can start having you introduce yourselves and giving a brief summary of your topics. Maybe we can go reverse alphabet, because I'm sure Yunpu, you go last many times. So this time you get to go first.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Yunpu Yang, and Yunpu is my first name. So I'm a senior online learning instructional technician at Shasta College, and we are in Redding, California. So my poster session, the title is Key Takeaways for Designing and Distributing Engaging Online Course Templates. So basically, we started a new project from November last year, and we started creating some basic templates for faculty to use it. So in my institution, we are using Canvas and Design Plus, and we have so many online classes. But for faculty, many of them, they don't have any design training in the past. So we try to make those courses are more accessible and easy to navigate for students to create a equal learning environment for everyone. But at the same time, we don't feel like it's economical to use faculty's time to require them to join a lot of like a design training, because they should focus on teaching materials instead of like learning, designing like a course templates. So we started creating a lot of like basic templates, for example, homepage or assignments, and try to encourage faculty to use it. But definitely, there are so many difficulties there because so many faculty, they've worked for college for decades and decades, and it's like they already accumulated a lot of like a great course materials. So how can you encourage them to transfer their content to a new format? Yeah, so there are so many challenges here. So in my session, I shared a lot of tips, like when we try to distribute these templates, what kinds of the things we can motivate them to do it. And also like when we are encourage them to use templates, we really have to think about their technical levels. Yeah. So anyways, in this presentation, I try to share things I learned and the strategy which works, and also the thing I feel like I didn't do it good enough. And if I had one more chance, I will definitely use different way to approach that. Yeah, so it's kind of like also my own learning reflection. Yeah, I don't wanna use too much time here, so maybe I'll stop here. So if you are interested, we can talk about it more.
Perfect. Thank you, Yunpu. And what I did is I put the title and Yunpu's name in the chat. And so if you have questions specifically for her, click the reply button so that it will go underneath it, and we will be able to track which person you're asking questions, or you can just use the little @ symbol and mention the speaker. Going in reverse alphabetical order still, we'll go to Veronique, and I'll put your information in the chat as well. So please share with us what your poster is about in a brief summary and some of the key points.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Veronique van Lierde, and I teach mathematics at Akhawayn University in Ifrane, Morocco. I've been here over 20 years. And so in our presentation, which I did with my undergraduate student, Yasser Lemghari, we talked about how we use an existing OER, so an open textbook, and we added to it some visuals to make it more interactive. So there's nothing really new. We just combine two things, and even that is not new. But the goal is to make the book a little bit more interactive, and to let the students explore a little bit the visuals so they can understand the concepts better, because the multivariable calculus course is a course where it's really important that the students understand the concept and that they can see things in front of them, so that they get an equation. And it's not just an equation with x's and y's and z's, but that they can see what's the surface that's represented by that equation. So those visuals can help with that. And by including them in the textbook, you also make them readily available for the students. They don't have to go to the LMS or click on a link to get access to them. They are embedded in the textbook. And there are also a couple of small self-checks, so that when the student is working or reading through the textbook, they can quickly check their understanding. That also helps to keep them engaged. And so I had Yasser is the one who's been working a lot on some of the visuals. I use two tools that are both freely available. One is GeoGebra, the other one is Catplot 3D. And so Yasser worked a lot on the tools in GeoGebra, and I think he did a great job there, translating some of the ideas into something that's working well for the students.
Thank you, Veronique.
Thank
and I
you.
have to say, when I took calculus, the teacher explained the concept of calculating the volume of a solid like a cantaloupe that has a hollow center by taking a cantaloupe and chopping it up in front of us, and then using bamboo skewers and telling us that we are calculating the area of each slice and adding them all together. And it really made it clear to me as someone who was struggling with the concept. So thank you, and I can't wait to
wonderful.
ask you more questions. Our
Thank you.
last group is three people, actually: Safiyya Bintali, Alethea Inns, and Andy Borts from University of Nevada, Las Vegas. They're going to tell us about from integration to impact content management systems for equitable learning. So why don't you give us a brief summary of your poster session, and then we'll get to some questions.
Thank you so much. So our poster presentation from integration to impact content management systems for equitable learning. We work here at UNLV, we're part of the e-learning team. So we work to administer tools like Zoom, Panopto, which is a content management system and the focus of our poster, and a few other e-learning tools like Slido. And in our poster, we wanted to discuss 3 different ways that content management systems can be used across a university campus to encourage equitable learning. So we start off talking about how instructors can use content management systems in their courses. And this is not only for asynchronous courses, but also live, hybrid, and high flex courses. So what are some things they can, what are some features that they can use? What are some ways that they can utilize it in the course, and also how they can use it intentionally and not just using it for the sake of using it. Then Alethea talks about how you can use it from an accessible standpoint. So when you're using content management systems in your course as an instructor or as a staff member or anyone across campus, what are some ways that you can make it an accessible experience for students or any viewer of your content? For example, we talk a lot about captioning, so the importance of captioning, not just for this, sorry, I was reading our abstract, but not just only for if it's requested, but also why it's important at large in order to increase accessibility to all who might view content. And lastly, Andy talks about content management system admins, so how we as admins play a role in administrating that and how we can approach that and making it equitable. So one thing Andy talks about that we definitely want to focus on, and that we do focus on in all of our work, is how we can provide the best support, and how that also translates into making it more equitable and accessible for everyone on campus.
Great. So we've got 40 people in the room. I encourage you all to share your questions either by raising your hands or popping them in the chat. And again, you can reply to the little posts that I put with each presenter or presenters' plural names and their title. But please, what questions do you have for our presenters? And while people think of them, Yunpu, you got me excited to learn. You said there was at least one thing that you wish you had done differently. Can you describe what that is in the context of, supporting faculty in the way that you did with the work?
Yeah, so at the very beginning, when we think about we want to create templates, our first priority is we want everyone to use it. But we really focus on we want everyone to use it. We forget like in the future, maybe we want to update and we want to add more. So for the first stage, when we try to distribute those templates to faculty's Canvas dashboard, and after that, we were thinking, okay, cool, now everybody use it. We are so excited, but how do we increase new templates there? And there's no way to do this unless we unless we seek other approach, maybe like a blueprint courses or other things. But anyway, those didn't work. But because at the same time, we are using Design Plus, their tools. So I went to their seminar very often. So I know they are going to release a new feature called Wizard. So I talked to my boss and colleagues, and we started thinking about like maybe Wizard can be a supplement feature to help us to update templates and also encourage more faculty to use templates. Yeah, so after that, we shift our focus to Wizard. So it's like the first stage, we distribute all of the templates to faculty's dashboard. And those templates are very basic, the most basic templates they can use. But after that, we created more and more different templates. So for example, we work with librarians to have the student self-enrolled classes, for example, something like an introduction to library research or like a MLA citation formats. And those are super common for many faculty. They will also require their students to do it. Yeah, so we just like pull more and more different content which will meet many faculty their mutual interests, and then turn them into templates, and then everybody can download it to their course shells to use it.
It's a great idea. I'm curious if there's a way to work with each department to find out the most useful resources that they could integrate into their courses. I see a question from Shrujana Tumu from Peralta Community College District. Do you put these templates in the Canvas Commons?
So yes, we also put these templates in Commons, but the problem is, I would say only new faculty, they would prefer to go to Commons to use those templates. For like a faculty, they've already very experienced for their classes. They usually will copy their old classes to their new classes. So they won't go to Commons to take a look what you have there, unless you send the templates in front to their face. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, Veronique, if there are similarities, because you spoke about the use of open educational resources and allowing instructors to customize those resources to better suit their students' learning needs. Did you come across similar challenges that Yunpu describes, or different ones as you worked with faculty?
But I didn't work with faculty. I just made the textbook form to use in my own course.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I currently teach 2 of the sections of the multivariable class. So I'm customizing it to use in my own class. Yeah.
Now, is this OER, the version that you've customized, available to anyone in the world?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you follow the QR code that's on the poster, it actually gets you to the textbook. And if you make an account on LibreText, which is free, everybody can make an account on LibreText, then you can also take that any page from that book, and you can insert it in your own book that you want to make, or you can also then modify it yourself. So it's available for everybody worldwide, yeah, to use and to customize.
Wonderful. I just made a note of that in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaker right before this talked about accessibility, and we were mentioning that STEM and math in particular has symbols and things that are hard for different screen readers, especially because they often get represented as images instead of text and things like that. Do you have recommendations? Does this book use like LaTeX or a math language that allows that hurdle to be overcome?
Yes. So it's written basically in LaTeX. Yeah. So it's written in that, and I'm not entirely sure I can vocalize or explain it well, the exact details, but my understanding from the training I followed with LibreText is that they have this accessibility is basically, I'm not going to say built in there, but something they really try to encourage. So when you look at the text, it is in LaTeX. Plus, it also has all the reader features, readability features. When you go to reader mode, you can also there change a few of the, how do you call it, the settings, to adjust certain things to make it more accessible to certain users. Yes. Another thing is if you use anything in there, or you're also yourself encouraged, if you, for example, put in a picture, that you have the description also of what's on the picture. So all those things, that system already has accessibility in mind. So that helps as well.
Thanks, Veronique. So Safiyya, Alethea, and Andy, I think there's a theme here because you all used a content management system and used it to increase equity in online learning. But again, my question is, are there challenges that you faced in terms of adoption or helping instructors see the value in using it? What are some of the key takeaways in terms of the successes you found and things that you might, like Yunpu says, do differently next time?
Since Andy was actually part of rolling out Panopto when we first got it for our university, Andy, would you like to talk a little bit about how you started off with it and then kind of marketed it to the campus and how it's being used today?
Sure thing. Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for having me here and all of us here. This is really awesome. But so 2018, we'll have to flash back a little bit, but that was around the time when UNLV said, you know what, we need to have some kind of content management system, and we also need some kind of video conferencing system. So we rolled out Panopto and WebEx at the same time. And ironically, that was also the year when Canvas launched on campus, because before we were a Blackboard shop. So three things all at once, all of a sudden being infused in the IT ecosystem. It was not an easy lift, but nevertheless, you fast forward 7 years later, and what a difference. So early on, it was really hard to get people immersed into content management because people would record content, but they would record it into YouTube, or they would find other ways to grab content that they were trying to record. And just some of the efforts were a little bit, let's just say the heads were scratched a few times when we were looking at the product. So ultimately what would happen is we would encourage folks to start by recording content from maybe their own office, to start out with a flipped classroom approach. And lo and behold, we started seeing people recording 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute bits for classes to be able to review and come in the next day or the next week and be ready to discuss it. Then we started to move into installing equipment into classrooms where people could actually schedule a recording in advance or schedule their entire semester's worth of courses to be recorded. And from there, we had a few people dabble into it, but then we had a reaction of, well, wait a minute, if people are going to just watch the recording, then that means they're not going to come to class. So of course, there had to be a learning curve for folks to understand that you can have impactful content and also provide it as an accessibility and equity tool. Instead of just thinking, well, nobody's going to come to class, why not think of it as, what if somebody breaks their leg and can't come to class, but they still want to keep up with the material. And once we started to get that philosophy injected into faculty members' minds, then the service just kept exponentially taking off, especially throughout the course of the COVID pandemic. And then after that, we started to understand that people were looking for easier ways to caption content and easier ways to make sure that their content was accessible. So part of the deal with our content management system is it has an automated speech recognition captioning tool that's about, they say it's 95% accurate, but we're willing to push that to about 99% accurate when it comes to interpreting what people say, even in like the medical field, for example, or even in the math field. So it has made that task a lot more of a comfortable ask for faculty instead of just what most would have viewed as a nuisance. But these days, you have to be ready to accommodate and accommodate and accommodate. And it has just completely been a game changer, not just for faculty, but for us as administrators, because in our poster presentation, we talk about practicing what we preach. All of our documentation is accessible. All of our content that we put out there for people to view is accessible. And so that kind of energy, ultimately, we want to permeate through the rest of the faculty. And I think somebody earlier had said, it's kind of hard for getting seasoned faculty members to adopt new Canvas templates. Similar here as well. Sometimes people are so immersed in what they're doing that they don't want to necessarily explore those next tiers. But we're at the point where they have to. And so once that starts to be a part of the mantra, if you will, then it starts to paint the picture of why it's necessary. And then next thing you know, you get more compliments from students saying, well, I didn't need the captions, but I use them. I use them all the time. I mean, I'm guilty. I use it all the time, and I don't even know why I'm saying guilty, because most people will turn their captions on even if they don't need them. So that's a lot of a high-winded way of saying it's important. It's something that we were able to get off the ground, and it took 6 and 7 years to do it. But now we're at the point where we can confidently say we have the tools for making the content accessible, and more faculty continue to use it.
All right, so now I'm going to turn our attention to, so all three of the poster presenters or groups have described the use of templates, OER textbooks, or content management systems to streamline processes, make things more accessible. I'm curious to know how instructors can take these tools, whether it be a template, a book, or a system, to take students to the next level where they're actually engaging with the material. They're solving the calculus problems. They're maybe doing a Panopto interactive video that has quiz questions embedded, or for Yunpu, they're creating activities to go along with the templates that have the links to MLS, but they're also writing and submitting essays. So I'll just, rather than calling on specific people, I'll just ask all three people or groups, how are you encouraging yourself, in Veronique's case, or the faculty in the other cases, to go to the next level with student interactivity, where they're taking that content and demonstrating learning or building on what they've reviewed?
For myself, I think providing a role model website is very important. So not only for those basic templates I provided, I also use those templates to create a role model website and to share with them and see like how engaging or like how pretty this a Canvas course can be. And also I provide some like a research, like tell them like visual appealing is not only, make students feel like, wow, this course website looks so good, but also this can make them really focus on which content, which page, which book they have to read, instead of like just looking for their exit in the forest. Yeah, so I think telling faculty like how important this design actually have to be, and also tell them how this can increase accessibility for students is very important. Yeah, and I would say most of the faculty, they are very passionate about their students. So when you tell them like what exact situations students have on their end, usually most of the time they buy it.
Great, thanks. Veronique or UNLV team, any ideas?
So one thing we've been working on, and Alethea was actually the one who was really spearheading this, is training our faculty on how to use Panopto, and in addition to some of our other tools. And Alethea can talk a little bit more about that, but we wanted to offer like a badging course, and we also offer a lot of outreach and training. So if you want to take it away, Alethea, and describe it in more detail.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. So I think the key part for us in facilitating faculty creating meaningful engagement, which of course is super important now, like as we're looking at the emergence or the integration of AI and things like that, is facilitating faculty being really comfortable and moving them along the tech adoption continuum, right? We have people right from beginners all the way to our people that are what we call innovators. So an essential part of that is providing these trainings and being able to provide the trainings to our faculty in the way that they need them. So when Andy started in 2018 in pre-pandemic times, it was sort of getting people on the train. And then during pandemic times, everybody got on the train all at once, and Andy was working a lot of hours. So, we were doing mass webinars and trainings like that. But as we've moved past, we've started creating courses specifically for the tools. So Safiyya and I have looked at, or we've developed 2 major courses using Zoom and Panopto, and they're integrated with a badging system as well. So faculty now can learn asynchronously in their own time and in their own way. But we also have some really robust, meaningful partnerships with our teaching and learning commons on campus, our online education teams on campus. So we're also working to find ways to educate faculty on creating those meaningful assessments using technology. And a great example of that is we've just submitted a poster session about, the do's and the don'ts about using technology when teaching. So I think the short answer is just really getting faculty engaged in what's possible. For example, in our content management system, we track analytics, of course, and we're finding that we have a lot more videos, like in numbers of videos that are a lot shorter in length. So we're finding now that faculty are creating more bite-sized video content, and B, that students are also engaging in creating those smaller bite-sized video submissions for either like discussion questions or interactions. Of course, yes, you mentioned quizzing and things like that. That's embedded into Panopto for sort of low stakes assessments as well. So we have those. So we're sort of approaching it from all angles that we possibly can. But I would say that like really supporting faculty in the way that they need and those partnerships across campus are super important.
Thanks, Alethea. Veronique, I want to give you a chance to chime in. I know, it must be difficult to get students to not only read about and think about, let's say, vector valued functions, but then how do they practice solving those equations and what are some of your strategies?
Yeah, I use flipped learning in my class. So students watch videos that I've made. Part of them, some of them I made actually during the pandemic, but I have a ton of videos, and they watched these videos before class, so they already have an idea of what we're going to talk about. And then we use the class to check in with them, take their questions, and then the class is very active. So I think I have one of the loudest classrooms on campus. Sometimes I'm afraid colleagues will come and complain, but no, that's just joking. But the class is very active, so they do a lot of problems. They work sometimes in small groups, sometimes it's more informal, sometimes it's more formal. I also have group work. I also try to emphasize this idea that you need to understand things. So there's a lot of, I take balls and things to class. So I haven't taken a melon to class, but I do take objects to class to show things. And I also let them think through the problems. Plus I I try to make them see these connections also between the different topics and the importance of really understanding what you're doing. For example, in chapter 11, we start with the geometry of space, and then a few chapters later, we're doing double and triple integrals. And if they don't really have some kind of intuition in space, then these are just equations and they will never be able to solve the problems. And in those moments, they can really see that, oh yeah, I can see it now in front of me, and I can reason through the problem and set it up, and then it becomes actually doable and hopefully also fun for them. So I try to make the class both very active and also in such a way that they really need to think through the problems rather than just plugging in numbers into equations. That's one thing. So I try to engage the students. I'm also trying to gather some data this semester so that I can also convince my colleagues, because we're multiple people teaching the same course. So, and this we have various faculty and a lot of faculty teaching that class. So I also want to gather some data so I can convince them to actually use or consider at least using this textbook. So, because it's basically a pilot that I'm doing. I'm the only one using it right now, but I would like to let others use it as well and work on it as well, give input as well. So that is something I'm thinking about, is how to come up with some arguments, because many faculty, and I think we all have a little bit of that, is, and I've seen the same with the templates, if it's working, why would I change it? So I'm gathering some data to see if this is making any actual difference in the students' performance.
Especially as they head into other classes that require these skills, if they are more prepared after going through this flipped learning experience compared to the other, I think that would be at least strong evidence. It may not convince people to change their ways. As you say, people get used to their way of doing things, but kudos to you for taking that step to doing this work and to doing the assessment, or at least evaluation of how's it going. And so with that, I'm going to flip it back to Yunpu and the UNLV crew. Are you taking any steps to evaluate the efficacy of your programs? And I know you talked to Andy a little bit about, stats on the video usage. I know sometimes that can be a little confusing, because I know my students have reported that they started a long video, went and made a sandwich, came back, and they missed, 5-10 minutes of it, but nobody knows because it was playing for the computer, and that's what got captured in the statistics. So I'm interested to know, your thoughts on improvement, the continuous improvement process, let's say.
We do have some quantity analysis tool, analytic tools, we can use it, but I would say the result is not that easy to track, because we started using Design Plus long time ago, not really long time ago, 3 years ago. But after we acquired this tool, we had multiple attempts to train faculty how to use it. So now the situation is, some faculty, they use one element from Design Plus, and the other faculty maybe use more, and the rest of them maybe use 0. So when I encourage them to use templates, it's like these statistics already skewed. Yeah, because from the beginning, it's not like from 0 to, like, I can track from 0 to maybe 80 or 90. It's like the started from maybe 10, 20, 30. Yeah, so it's very difficult to see it from a quantitative perspective. But from qualitative perspective, I would say it's very useful, because faculty, they would contact us, and we can schedule one-on-one meeting and to teach them like which part they feel like it's difficult to use, and like which part of the templates they want me to help them to revise it a little bit to cater to their own classes or their departments. Yeah, so I would say for the help, from faculty, they ask me to like schedule meetings with them, or like from the emails they send me. this part I can see it's helpful and like the result is also good.
Nice. And I see that Shrujana from Peralta Community College District mentioned that they use a blueprint that they apply to all classes, but just as you described, some instructors delete everything, others use parts of it, some use all of it, so it must be difficult to track. Safiyya, Alethea, Andy, are you having similar challenges, or do you find that the Panopto platform is ready-made for kind of continuous improvement and evaluation?
So we also have similar experiences with that, particularly where videos are stored. So a lot of times, if videos are recorded into a course folder, so a course associated with a specific folder and semester, then sometimes a lot of copies are made and those copies are kind of all out there, or they're lost and they're not moved, and it can get a little bit messy. However, one way we as a team try to combat that is to just work when we're working with faculty who are like, can you please help me find my videos? And and then we also provide them with some opportunities on best practices. So we have documentation on that that Alethea and I both work on. It's accessible, and it's also nice and branded. So we try to keep everything consistent, so it's a good experience all around. But when we're working with them, we don't just say, okay, here's how you move it, end of story. We also provide some best practice advice on, okay, if you're going to be using this across multiple courses, the best place that you might want to put this is in this central folder, and then you want to embed this in your Canvas courses using the LTI. So that means that students have permissions, and that way it'll be a seamless experience for everybody involved. So that means, a faculty member will know where their video is. They won't have trouble finding it. It's in a central location. It can be used across courses as long as it stays relevant. And we make sure we mention that, so things aren't being used from long ago that may not be as relevant to students anymore, and if it needs to be touched up and things like that. But also for students that when they're trying to access something that may not be in a course that they have access to, so it might be from a course in summer 2021, then they're not trying to play it, and then it's like, oh, you don't have permission. And this is something we do tend to run into a few times, but we try and make sure we communicate that in our support, not just solving the problem at hand, but also providing the tools to solve that problem in the future, and being a resource for our faculty and our staff, because Panopto is also used on an administrative level. It's starting to kind of pick up a little bit more now. It used to not be used as much. It was more for academics. Now it's picking up on an administrative level, which is fun. But we also try to make sure that everyone has access. Pretty much we want to make sure that everyone has the ability to know that we are here for them, and we're not just saying, okay, you're done, get out of my office. We want to be a resource always, and we want people to know that we have that policy they can meet with us, they can talk with us, and we feel that that's something we feel, and especially in our team and in all of our IT team as a whole, that having that quality of support can really encourage faculty and staff and students, so pretty much everyone in the university community, that they'll feel more welcome in using tech. They'll a lot of times approach it in a more open-minded way. And that can make it a lot easier to, not enforce it, that's the wrong word, but encourage the use of it in classes and pretty much any way they want to use it.
Well, and that idea, and I see Andy nodding his head vigorously, makes me want to ask Veronique and Yunpu if you have gotten any feedback from the students themselves about either the templates in Yunpu's example or the OER textbook and Veronique's example. What's the reaction from the learning side of the coin?
Yeah, so for me, because I don't have a lot of opportunities to talk to students, but I regularly met the director in our student success. And students, if they have any issues or difficulties for learning, they would go to student success class department, and they will tell them like maybe they need accessible documents, or maybe they feel like the Canvas courses is very difficult to navigate. So it's like talking to staff in the Department of Student Success. I understand what students like their frequent questions, frequent difficulties. So I address that. Yeah. So for example, they would share with me, they say, yeah, accessibility, like make a videos or like a documents accessible is so important. But the number one difficulty for students is students don't even understand how to use Canvas and how to navigate a Canvas course, because they feel super confused, like where do I have to submit the assignment, and where do I have to use a quiz to take a quiz? Yeah, so for them, this so it's very intimidating for many of them to use it. And especially I'm in a community college. So many of our students are not grow up in like a technological era. So like many of them, maybe they already like 50 years old or like 60 years old, but they decide to come back to like advance their new knowledge here. So yeah, how to like create a way to accommodate everybody's technological level and to address the class and to make sure students can focus on teaching material to course materials instead of like learning how to use Canvas. I think that part is very important.
Yeah, the more students are learning how to use the technology, the less they're learning the content of the class. Veronique, do you have any feedback from your students?
Yeah, I don't have, I haven't collected feedback in an organized way. I have a survey that's ready to send out. Probably in 2 weeks, I'll send that out. But what I've already received informally from students is that they do like the textbook. They like the fact that these visuals are embedded. They actually also really like how easy it is to navigate this textbook. For example, our students, we have good internet access on campus, but still our students like to have PDF of the textbook as well. So that actually has not much to do with interactivity, but they like the fact that they can download a PDF of the text, which is something that they cannot do with the ebooks. Those are very protected. Even printing one page is generally not possible. So they like that aspect. And I also notice in class more students who actually have the book open during class. So which is something I don't necessarily see, or I don't remember seeing that often in previous semesters. There's also the fact we're a rather small university. So a lot of students are aware that I have a former student working with me on these visuals. And so they talk about this, and then they see this student, and it's like a figure for them. So it also is very motivating for them that another student has worked on the tools that are helping them learn. So there is a face behind that, and that seems to have quite an impact on them.
Fantastic. Well, we have just a few more minutes, and I have been doing all the questions, so I want to make sure that the group in the room poses questions that you have for our speakers. Is anybody thinking about doing something similar to any of the projects you've heard? Have similar stories about the challenges and how to overcome them? The floor is open.
Hi, I just want to correct myself a little bit. I want to say I don't think age is necessarily relevant to a person's tech skills, but I just want to say, yeah, people, their tech skills are very different. And I want to make sure students are learning their professional knowledge, not focus on learning techniques, unless like their department is relevant to technology.
No, that's a good point. And we all can fall into that trap, right? Where we may make a statement that sounds like a generalization. So thanks for that. I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anything. I don't see any hands raised. So maybe we can do a lightning round with each one of you, all five, to maybe provide the one key takeaway, the thing that you're most proud of, the most looking forward to in the future, And we went reverse alphabet last time, so this time we'll do forward alphabet with Alethea.
Hi. So I think for us, the thing that I'm most proud of us as a team for is building a culture on campus where faculty and staff know that they can come to us. Everybody knows that they can seek our help and that we're willing to dive in and find them solutions, and that what's that social media saying? We listen and we don't judge. So it doesn't matter where you are on that tech adoption continuum, we're available to get faculty where they need to go, and also making students aware that we're there as well.
Thanks. Andy.
I think just the big thing is when you have the support that people need to be able to utilize a tool, it just completely changes the entire mindset of what that tool can do. And then you start to get inspired by some of the use cases that folks will bring your way when it comes to wanting to use a tool. I mean, we've had some really, really interesting, use cases for our content management system. Like, for example, we have a clinical simulation center, and one of the initial brainstorms for use of a content management system was to be able to record scenarios where you have an actor come in, they talk about some of the symptoms they are experiencing, and then you have a student who wants to develop a savviness for the medical field coming in and asking questions about, what are you experiencing? How are you feeling? Does this hurt? Those kinds of things. And next thing you know, they review that a few months later, and then they're able to say, I probably should have asked about XYZ. So that wasn't the first thing you would necessarily put on your bingo card for what a content management system would be used for, but that just started to steamroll into other possibilities for that group. So the whole reason that was able to happen was because we started out with really solid support, and we made sure people knew, here's how you get off the ground with it. Now let's see what you can do with it, and we'll be right here to help you through all of those scenarios. So that's what I take out of it.
Excellent, thanks. And to round out the UNLV team, Safiyya.
Just to kind of piggyback off Alethea a little bit, I also like that we built a culture of connecting with other departments on campus. So a lot of what our team does is we'll do guest talks, not only for other initiatives on campus, like we have something called the Administrative Assistant Academy. We do some trainings for them, some highly specialized trainings for their job purposes, things they might be interested in, so they can figure out new innovative ways to use with the tools that we offer. We also collaborate with professors on speaking to their classes. We work with the freshman incoming class. We have something called Rebel Ready Week, so we do sessions on that. So we really try and make our team not just the IT people in that one building separated from everybody. But it's more so like we'll come to you, we'll go to campus, we'll make those relationships with different departments, faculty, staff, and students. So they know that, we are people as well. We connect with you, and we're happy to provide like our own insights and kind of customize that a little bit more to fit their needs and what they would want to train their people on. So I do like that we're trying to be more of a campus presence as well. And yeah.
Wonderful. Now I want to teach at UNLV. Veronique, any takeaways, what you're proud of, what you're hoping to do in the future?
Yeah, I think the goal of the project is to engage the students, to help them learn the material. And I think I'm actually most proud of the students, seeing their growth, not just these students, but students overall, seeing them when they come in struggling, and then by the end of the semester, seeing them explaining things to each other, using their hands to explain things. That's actually what I'm most proud of. And I think key takeaway would be, if you have an idea, just start small. Don't think you have to build everything from scratch. That's basically what I did. I used what's available, and I'm really happy I'm able to work on an idea that's been in the back of my mind for several years. Thank you.
Wonderful. Last but not least, Yunpu.
For me, I think I am proud of that I care about everyone in school. I care about students. That's why we want to make sure courses are accessible and students can feel like they have equality. And for faculty, because we care about faculty, we don't want them to spend additional time, additional burden to the things which is not their, shouldn't be their primary focus. So that's why we create templates, and we want to make sure templates are easy for them to use and they don't have to learn additional tool to use these templates. Yeah, and also now we try to work with different departments and create more different templates, which will benefit most of the faculty in the entire institutional side. Yeah, so I think I'm pretty happy, like because I care. So that's why I want to make everything better.
Fantastic. I don't know if there's a better way to end the session. So everybody, please join me in thanking Yunpu Yang from Shasta College in California, Veronique van Lierde from Akhawayn University in Morocco. Did I get that close? And then Safiyya Bintali, Alethea Inns, and Andy Borts from University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Please, let's give them a virtual round of applause and our thanks for sharing their ideas. And I think more importantly, the trials and tribulations that they went through to, make things better for teaching and learning. So thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording, and we will be back in just 9 minutes with yet another wonderful conversation. So stay tuned.